the one, the only, Tim Kurkjian on my Holder Hangout. This is the Lou Holder Hangout. And what an amazing, amazing honor. What has the University of Maryland meant to you?
Well, this is where I learned how to be a reporter. This is where I learned how to be a writer. This is where I learned how to be a journalist. I wrote for my high school paper, and I was terrible. Like one of my gym teachers once told me, Tim, I think that's the worst story I've ever seen written in the school paper. I hope you're not planning on making this your life's work. And yet, I did.
Yeah.
But it was because of what I learned here at the University of Maryland. It was a great journalism program when I went here, 74 through 78, and it's way better now because of everything this university has done.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned in your speech about accuracy. The core ethics of journalism is, accuracy, it's humanity, there's all kind of core ethics of our journalism craft. And you said accuracy a lot. So why do you think that accuracy would be the number one of all the 5 core journalism ethics that we all learn?
Well, you got to get it right. Otherwise, everything's wrong. This is the one thing I learned. You better be right before this goes in the newspaper. You better be right before you say this on TV. And Dr. Hebert, he didn't just tell us about accuracy. That was the number one thing. The other thing was fairness. You better be fair in the people that you're writing about. And he told us, if you know that you are fair and you are accurate, then you can go to sleep at night knowing you did your job. Maybe somebody doesn't like what you wrote, but if you're fair and you're accurate, that's the most important thing.
Right. Tim, you're one of the best baseball minds a lot of us have ever seen and come across. The game of baseball, where do you see it right now? Is it in good hands? Do you think it's progressing? Do you think it has a long way to go? From a baseball mind like yours, where is the game of baseball right now?
Well, it's still the greatest game in the world. I'm a little bit biased about this because this is all I've really loved for the last 66 years of my life. But the game needs some help right now, and that's why they've changed the rules this spring in order to get more action into the game, get some of the dead time out of the game. We have too many walks, too many strikeouts, too many home runs, and not enough in between. The rule changes are designed to not only streamline the game and make them shorter, but make them better. And that's what I'm hoping, because attendance is down and the ratings are down, and interest in the game is down, which saddens me to no end. But baseball has survived everything. It survived world wars, steroids, Black Sox scandal, everything. It'll survive this, and baseball will be the greatest sport in the world sometime soon. It will always be that for me.
Mm-hmm. How do you get more minorities into the game, Tim? Yeah, I think you talked about how it's struggling, it's hurting right now. I think a lot of it is because the game takes too long, as you said. But how do you get more minorities into baseball? When I was coming up, there was the Ricky Hendersons, there was the juniors and whatever. You don't see as many minorities, a lot of Hispanics and things of that nature, but as far as minorities in this country, how do you get more people involved?
Well, it's a real problem. Because when I first started covering baseball, 27% of the players were African American, and now we're down to 8%.
8?
That is not a good number. Part of it is because in this society, everyone wants it now. Give me action now, and baseball doesn't provide that for enough young people. So they're going to go play a sport where they can excel and they can give it to us now. Basketball, football, lacrosse, whatever it is. That's the first thing we have to do. We have to make this game more affordable for all kids. I had a friend of mine who coached a 12-year-old travel team. It was a really high-level team. It cost kids on his team $10,000 a year to play on the baseball team. And that doesn't include how much mom and dad have to spend to go watch their son play. We have to make the game way more affordable for young children of all colors, because we're losing a lot of players because the game at that level has become too expensive. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, wow. Last question for you. I'm into Mount Rushmores. I'm not into top 5s. I'm not into top 10s. I'm into Mount Rushmores that make it more harder to pick great ones because it's just 4. if you had a Mount Rushmore of favorite baseball players for you over any generation, over any time, any era, who would be the top 4 on your Mount Rushmore of baseball players?
Well, I'm a really old man. Let's understand that first.
Vintage, not old, vintage.
Walter Johnson would be number 1.
Walter Johnson.
Because as I've established, I went to Walter Johnson High School in Bethesda. Number 2 is Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is the greatest player of all time, given that he was a pitcher and a hitter. He completely revolutionized the game. Number 3 would be Willie Mays. When he came up in 1951, he completely changed the way the game was played. He was the greatest athlete ever to come to the major leagues in 1951, and I still think, this many years later, he is still the greatest combination of power, speed, and defense that the game has ever seen. And number 4, I would put Cal Ripken on that list because he played in 2,742 straight games. I spent more time around him than any player I've ever covered, and I can tell you, whatever you know about him as a guy and as a player, multiply it by 10, that's how great that guy is. So I'll go Walter Johnson, Babe Ruth, Willie Mays, Cal Ripken.
Thank you for all you do, sir. I'm a big fan.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right.